Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, yeah, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, including books. Today's video, though, we're going to be talking about a readathon! Not just any readathon, but a very fun, exciting readathon that I will be hosting in flippin' December. And for all you planners out there, I wanted to let you know it was happening. It is happening on my Patreon, so it is not a public readathon, but I wanted to give you the deets so that you can make the decision for yourself if you are interested, and you can come and join us on my Patreon, which we're kind of like a very corny community, and I say that both figuratively and literally because we call ourselves corns, aka Kelsey Corns is what I call everybody else, so it's kind of corn themed, and we also are kind of ridiculous in a corny way. Like, we make funny, silly jokes, and it's a very, very good time over there. I'm very proud of the community we've made, so stay tuned. And if you're curious, or if you're maybe thinking about participating, after the short intro, I will give you guys the details so you can decide. Welcome back, guys! I am so sorry that I am not in my usual position. I feel like this is very casual in terms of how I usually set up, but I am in the middle of reorganizing my bookshelves, and it is an insane undertaking. So my room is a mess, you can't tell, but there are books all over the floor. You can kind of tell in the background my shelves are freaking insanely messy. They're just stacks of books on some of the empty shelves. I'm also cataloging the books in addition to reorganizing the actual shelves, so it's taking a long time, and it's quite intimidating in terms of a project that I'm trying to complete. So we will see how far I get, but I just thought I'm gonna record a very casual video. I'll just talk about my Patreon readathon coming up in December, in case anybody who isn't a part of the Patreon wants to become a part of the Patreon just to join in. And I do want to say that I know last year a lot of you guys who are longtime viewers of mine might have participated in the readathon that I helped co-host, which was Christmas Evil. I love Christmas Evil. At first, the co-host and I thought it was going to continue this year. It is not going to continue this year, so I just feel like I couldn't let Christmas go by and December go by without doing an event, because it would make me sad. I loved Christmas Evil last year, so I am doing something with my Patreons so that we can still do something fun. And usually my readathons are open to the top 2 tiers, but this readathon for the holidays, in honor of all of that, I am making this readathon open to all the tiers. So does it matter what tier you belong to, the readathon is open to you if you're a part of my Patreon, any level. So last year, the readathon I helped co-host was Christmas Evil, as I said. This year, the Patreon readathon is called Creepin Peepin, Corny Christmas. As I said, I call everyone Kelsey Corns. That's where the corny comes in. Also, it's a great alliteration. And Creepin Peepin, it has to do with Santa watching you, making sure, you know, he takes notes on how you're being. Are you naughty? Are you nice? That kind of comes into play with the theme of the entire readathon. Also, there is a little watchathon element too, so I will explain all of that. But before I do, I want to say that even though Christmas is in the title of the readathon, and there are Christmas elements mentioned on some of the prompt boards, you do not have to celebrate Christmas to participate. You can celebrate any form of holiday, or you cannot celebrate at all. It doesn't matter. It's not exclusively for people who just celebrate Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, if you celebrate any other form of a holiday, or no holidays at all, like I said, it's open to anyone and everyone. Alright, now let's get into the details and go over the prompts. So, just to give you some facts, this readathon consists of 3 prompt boards. 1 movie prompt board, a naughty reading prompt board, and a nice reading prompt board. So that's where the Creepin and Peepin comes in. Santa's watching you, making sure if you're naughty or nice. And you will find out whether you've been naughty or nice towards the end, and it depends on how many prompts you complete from each board what you are, and I'm gonna make a little graphic proclaiming what you are at the end of the event. So let's go over some more details. Do as many or as few prompts as you want. Pick and choose the ones you want to do, and you can do any prompt multiple times. Bingo in this particular readathon doesn't matter. You don't have to get 3 in a row. You don't have to worry about how many prompts you do, except for keeping track of the nice versus the naughty prompts you complete, just so that I can give you a special graphic saying that you were more naughty or you were more nice. That's just for fun. Really, you're going to get special little characters that I will design for you for every book you read. So this allows you to pick any prompts you want to do and concentrate on the ones you like best. And if there is one in particular you like more than the others, you can do that one multiple times. Or if there are few you like and some you don't, just do those few you like more than once if you want to. That is why I made it book-based versus prompt-based, so that you could really pick and choose which things you wanted to do, and you could do prompts multiple times if you desire. So, as I said, for every book you read and every movie or show you watch that fits a prompt, you will receive a little holiday corn character from me. And I've already made a whole bunch, and I'm excited. I really like how cute they are. It's going to be a surprise. My Patreon members voted on it being a surprise, so I will just send you the amount. You will send me the number of books you read and the number of movies/shows you watched. Add those two numbers together. Give me that total. That total is what will determine how many characters you get from me. And there's a potential, because of movies being included and also shows, you could technically earn a lot of characters. Have no fear. I have like over 60 made right now, even more, I think. So I don't think I'll run out. I've had a lot of fun making them, but I'm keeping them a surprise, like I said. If you're not into the movie prompts, have no fear. You don't have to do the movie board. Just skip that if you want to concentrate on the reading prompts. And if you'd rather just concentrate on the movie prompts, do that too. It's all up to you, what you want to do, how you want to format it if you do join us for this readathon. Make sure to keep track of how many books you read, how many movies or TV show episodes you watch. I even made a little tracking document, so if you do join us, I have a Google Drive with a printable tracking document, as well as if you prefer to do your tracking digitally, I have a Google Sheets template that you can make a copy of and keep track of it on your Google Sheet that you make from my template. So either way, I got you covered. If you do join us and you want to keep track along the way, you don't have to make a form on your own. I have made one for you. Dun, 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 dun. And as I said, don't just keep track of the movies and the books and the shows. You also want to keep track of how many prompts you complete, only because it will determine which graphic I give you for your Instagram stories after the month is over. So the graphic will essentially proclaim if you've been more naughty or you've been more nice, and it really just depends on which board you can complete more prompts from. And you can do the same prompt multiple times, and that can count towards your naughty or nice total. You could also double or triple dip even across different boards if you really want to get your prompt tally higher. So if one book matches a prompt from the nice board as well as a prompt from the naughty board, just put a tally for each of your boards. A tally, you read one thing that is a prompt completed for the nice board and the naughty board, then you have 1 and 1, and you're going to have to keep the tallies going all month long. And whichever prompt board you have the most tallies on is the graphic you'll receive, proclaiming you are naughty or nice. Alright, now let's get into the prompts. We'll start off with the reading prompts, and first we'll start off with the nice board. So here are the nice board prompts. The first one is, they call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. I'm too much to do. Ignore Kelsey Karaoke, I'm sorry, but I love that song. It's from what is it from? A Year Without a Santa Claus, that's it. So that whole thing isn't the title of the prompt. The title of the prompt is just They Call Me Snow Miser, but I wanted to keep singing because that song freaking rules. Anyway, this prompt is to read a book with snow or white on the cover. Either or, it doesn't have to be snow, and snow is white, so technically it kinda is both. But anyway, if you just want to read a non-snowy book, just use the color white on the cover to choose this. Next up, I have 3 prompts that are all about the different ghosts of Christmas from A Christmas Carol. This first one represents the ghost of Christmas past, and this is to read a book from TBR's past. So a book that you've had on previous TBRs, but you did not read. Next up, we've got an elf prompt, and I really like this one. It's very simple. Read a book that has red on the cover, or green on the cover, or it can have both colors on the cover. So a book with red and green on the cover. It doesn't matter. Elves' outfits, they have red and green, so that's why this is named after an elf. Next up, Silver Bells! Read a book that spells a holiday-themed word on the front cover. Be as loose or strict with this interpretation as you want. Holiday word can be silver, it can be bell, it could be bells plural, it could be light, it could be ghost, because if you think that a ghost reminds you of the ghosts of Christmas from A Christmas Carol, you could do that. If you want to be a little bit more literal, you can try to spell a more complicated word like Rudolph, you can do that. Literally, it's up to you what the word is, and if you do join in and become a member of the Patreon if you aren't already and want to do this, I'd love to know what word you pick. This was kind of inspired by a Halloweekend prompt. I was a co-host for Halloweekend. Of course, that was created by Lexi from Books with Lexi. I also took inspiration from another one of her Halloweekend prompts that I'll talk about in a second. Next up, we have another Ghost of Christmas type of prompt, and this one is the Ghost of Christmas Present. Read a book published in the year 2023, so this year, the present. We're still in 2023 for just another month, not for long, so woohoo! Read a release from this year. Next, Christmas lights. Read a book with a light source on the cover or a book with a shiny element on the cover. A book with embossed font that might look a little bit shiny. A book with a sun, moon, a candle, a fire, any kind of thing like that on the cover would work. Even if it's an implied light source, you can use that. Again, it's all about having fun, be as loose as you want. I am not going to be like, hey, you can't do that. I'm never going to say that. So if you think it counts, count it. Next up, Tiny Tim. Oh, Tiny Tim. Read a middle grade book or a novella. Very simple, should be easy to do. My idea is if someone doesn't like middle grade, they just read like a tiny book, like a novella, and that would fit the prompt too. Alright, and our last Ghost of Christmas type of prompt, this is to read a book set in the future or read an arc. Of course, an arc is a book that hasn't officially come out yet, so technically it is a book that will be out in the future, but isn't out technically now, so that kind of still fits with the future type of ghost. Next up, reindeer games, and this is the other prompt that was inspired by a Halloweekend prompt. This says, use my wheel to match a Christmas icon, creature, or element. So I have a wheel, a spinner wheel that has a link on my Patreon Discord so you could easily get to it, and essentially you open up this wheel and there are different characters and you can match a book to whatever character you spin. And it doesn't have to be you match it to the color of the item, you match the book to that. No, it doesn't have to be a cover match. It could be a match of the plot. You can interpret it the way you want, and I'll give you an example. So the available characters on the wheel that you could possibly spin and land on, if you choose to do this prompt even, is Jack Skellington, the Grinch, Bumble from Rudolph, Frosty the Snowman, Santa, Buddy the Elf, Mistletoe, Rudolph, or John McClane from Die Hard. You might say, how the hell do I match a book to John McClane from Die Hard? Well, again, you don't have to match the cover to the colors of the character or the Christmas icon or whatever, or Christmas element. Essentially, you could use John McClane. If you happen to land on that one, you can think of the idea of, okay, well, Die Hard's an action movie, so I want to read a quick, fast-paced read, so I'm going to pick a thriller book to read, and that's how I'm going to match the John McClane character to a book. That idea. Or if you do want to match with the cover color, you can think about how John McClane frickin' wears a wife beater, and it's a white wife beater for most of the movie, so if you want, you can read a book with white on the cover, which we have another prompt that fits that too, but again, you could double dip and count it for, 2 prompts. It doesn't matter. But another way, if you want to be super loose and really creative, like you could just get so creative with these and really think about the character or the movie or like little elements and match the book in whatever way you want. For instance, so John McClane is walking around barefoot in the movie Die Hard. So you could read a hardcover book, take off the slipcase or the slipcover, whatever you want to call it, and just read like a naked hardback book. And that will be honoring John McClane because he's walking around with no shoes on. It's like you're reading a book without the cover. Shoes are essential, you know, and a hardcover book looks kind of naked without the cover, so I'd say the slipcover is essential. So in that way, you're honoring John McClane if you're just taking off the cover, the slipcover, and you're reading that book. So you could even do that, but there are plenty of ways to interpret it. Jack Skellington, you could read a book that features Halloween vibes. You could read a novella or a very short book because he's tall and skinny. He's just bare bones. You can, for the Grinch, you don't have to read a book with green on the cover. You could, you know, read a book that has a enemies to lovers type of scenario. You could read a book that has a grumpy main character or a antagonist as a main feature of the story. You know, Bumble from Rudolph, that might be kind of hard. That is the big little creature from Rudolph, and he's actually super cute. So you could choose to read a book with a misunderstood character, or read a really thick big boy book, because, you know, Bumble's huge. Or if you do want to do the match the cover with the color of Bumble, you could read a book that has white and light blue on the cover. You could do that. So it's like interpreted in so many different ways. For Rudolph, it doesn't have to be a book with red. It could be a book with a main character that is just kind of like Bumble, is misunderstood, or a very unique main character because Rudolph is very unique compared to his other pals, etc., etc. Be as creative as you want. All right, let's move on to the naughty prompts. Dun 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 dun. Ooh, naughty. All right, first we have Santa baby. Santa baby. Do 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 do. That doesn't sound great. Anyway, read a book featuring a romance of some kind. It could be very, very light romance. It doesn't have to be super involved. It doesn't have to be an actual romance book. It could just be a book with a little bit of romance in it. So it's up to you. Next up, they call me Heat Marza. Whatever I touch, something melts in my clutch. I like the snow song better, but anyway, for this, it works. For this one, you're going to read a book set in the summer. It's naughty? Not really. It's not naughty, but it's kind of the opposite of what you usually think of during Christmas. You usually think of winter, not summer. So we're doing the opposite for the naughty board. We're doing read a book set in summertime. And for half of the world, it is summer during Christmas. So for those people, this would be a perfect prompt. Next up, I'm not a big smut reader, but this is probably my favorite prompt on the whole freaking 2 boards because it's ridiculous and a lot of fun, and I don't know why we all thought of this. My Patreon members helped me come up with all these prompts and the names. So the prompt is called Scrooged, but it's spelled like SCREW-GED. So, you know, Scrooged, wink wink. Anyway, it's so dumb. Okay, so this is a smut themed prompt, and so this is to read a smut book, but I have provided everyone who is participating a list, and this smut list was curated by 2 people, and I consider these 2 people to be the queens of smut, and they're both corns. They're both members of my Patreon, and I'm very thankful to them for helping me come up with a list of smut books, because like I said, they are the smut experts, and I'm not saying that to embarrass them. I think it's an awesome, fun, great thing, and we're gonna have so much fun reading these books. So you can do one of 2 things. If you decide to do this prompt 1 time or multiple times, you could also choose to do it no times if you want, by the way. So don't worry, if you don't like smut, skip it. But if you do decide to do it 1 or multiple times, you can either pick any smut book from the provided list, which again is on my printables, it's linked on my Google Drive, it's on my Discord. You can find it plenty of places if you do join the Patreon, but so you can either just choose whatever you want from the list, or if you want to be a little more spontaneous, choose the few that you like. You can make a wheel digitally for free by going to wheelofnames.com. That's how I made the Reindeer Games wheel I've made a lot of digital wheels by using that, and you can save it. So if you want to spin and do this prompt multiple times, you could pick your favorite books from the list, or maybe you've read a few that are on the list, so you pick the ones you haven't read, whatever you want to do, put them on your own wheel and spin. Or if you're like me, and you can kind of see it in the background, if you actually happen to have a real wheel, a physical wheel, you can write your choices on the physical wheel and spin the wheel whenever you want to do this prompt. Again, I am going to use my physical wheel. I'm actually going to do this even though smut's not my favorite thing. I think it's going to be fun, and all the smut on the list, it's all thematic, it's all Christmassy, it's all freaking weird, it's all wild. It's going to be amazing, it's going to be fun, and oh my gosh, it's going to be unhinged in the best way, and I can't wait. Next up, Krampus! I freaking love Krampus. I've been obsessed with Krampus the last couple of years, so of course I had to have a prompt in honor of freaking Krampus. So this is to read a Krampus-themed book, or read a book featuring evil kids or naughty kids. It depends on how much you want to interpret this. You can use naughty, quote, very loosely, you know, a book with some annoying kids. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to do. You could also skip this prompt if you don't want to do it. You could do other prompts instead. Whatevs. Next up, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Read any horror or thriller book. Very easy, simple. Next up, hot cocoa. I love some hot cocoa. I don't know what this was, but I was trying to like mime drinking a hot cocoa, but it was weird. Anyway, this is to match a book to any candy, drink, or food. You could do that by colors on the cover. You know, let's say you want to match a peppermint stick, so you want to read a red and white colored book. Or you can maybe, if you want to use other elements, almost like the reindeer games prompt, you can use other elements to match the book. For instance, hot cocoa is hot. It is steamy, so read a steamy romance or a smut book that was not included on the smut list. Say you want to read any smut book. Well, do the hot cocoa prompt and say, I want to match the actual drink hot cocoa to a book. And hot cocoa, it is hot and steamy, so I'm going to read a hot and steamy smut book. And it wasn't included on the list, so go ahead, do it that way. Whatever you want to do, or if you just want to read a hot and steamy regular romance, it's not exactly smut, then read that. There you go, it doesn't matter. Or you can just interpret it very, very casually. Next up, Why Am I Such a Misfit? This is a song from the Rudolph movie, and this is just to read a YA book. And why am I using that quote? Well, my Patreon members and I decided that that would be perfect because sometimes, you know, young adults, they feel like misfits. They feel misunderstood, kind of like the island of misfit toys. So we thought it was very appropriate to use this quote for this prompt. Next up, a very, very popular Christmas icon, we've got the Grinch. Read a book that spells a, quote, naughty word on the cover. You can use any words on the front cover to spell this word, just like the other prompt on the other board that has a similar type of idea where you spell any holiday word. You could use the author's name, the title, and any blurbs, any quotes, whatever on the front cover, or any taglines, etc., etc. Some examples: evil, Scrooge, devil, Krampus. Be as creative with the word you choose as you want. And last naughty prompt, we've got Oogie Boogie. Read a book featuring any kind of animal or creature. Dragons, regular animals like dogs or cats, like if you want to read a cozy cat mystery. Those are popular during winter and Christmas time. Whichever you want to do that. Paul brought me a drink, so cheers. Alright, and the last board we'll go over is the movie board, which I have named the Mistletoe Movie Board. I'm sure you can tell by the title of this readathon, by everything else that I've ever done, I like alliteration, so mistletoe movie prompts, it works, whatevs. Alright, first prompt, Frosty the Snowman. Watch a movie set in winter. I mentioned movies and shows earlier. You can watch an episode of a TV show if you prefer. I don't have that written anywhere on the board, but just know that you can watch an episode of a TV show if you prefer to do that over watching a full movie. Next up, Sleigh Ride, and this is sleigh like slay, S-L-A-Y, and this is to watch a slasher movie or just a dark movie. Dark can be interpreted in whatever way you want. If you want to watch a darker movie, as in just a drama, a regular old drama, go ahead and watch that. It doesn't have to be a horror movie per se, because I want this to be a friendly event for people, even if they do not like horror movies. Next up, Cozy Sweater. Watch a rewatch or a comfort movie. Next up, you'll shoot your eye out. Watch a classic holiday movie. Classic can be interpreted however you see fit. I think Jingle All the Way is a classic. However, I'm sure some people would scoff at that idea. I freaking love Jingle All the Way. I love Home Alone too, Lost in New York. Those are classics to me. Other people may argue against that. It is what it is. I am cool with whatever anybody considers a classic to them. Rudolph, he's back again. I've mentioned Rudolph a couple of times. This prompt is to watch a movie that has red on the movie poster. Next up, Ugly Sweater. Watch a corny or So Bad It's Good movie. Or if you don't want to do either of those, a third option, you could just watch any kind of horror comedy or any kind of comedy in general. I do think it'd be more fun to watch a corny movie or a So Bad It's Good movie. There are so many of those like that. Ginger Dead Man, that one's so good. Oh, that one's so good. It is kind of like a horror comedy, but it's also a So Bad It's Good movie because it's really bad, but it's also really great and amazing. In my opinion, but what ifs. Of course, I had to have a prompt named after my favorite movie franchise of all time when it comes to holiday movies, and that is a prompt named after Home Alone. Watch a movie that you don't want to watch alone. Interpret that how you want. A movie that makes you sad if you watch it alone. A movie that you love watching with family, so it could be a feel-good movie that you just like to watch with your family. It could be a horror movie that you're scared to watch alone, so it could be interpreted in any of those ways or even more ways that I haven't mentioned. Or if you don't want to do that, then just attend any of my Discord watch parties. I will be having tons of Discord watch parties during the month of December. Paul will be at work a lot, so I will be having tons of sprints for Patreon members and tons of watch parties for Patreon members. So if you attend any of the watch parties, then you're watching a movie not alone. You're watching it with peeps. So it's the opposite of Home Alone, but you know, it works for this prompt. Next up, Gremlins! Watch a, quote, creature feature, and I'm putting this in quotes because I don't want you guys to feel boxed in by the creature feature requirement. You can be very, very loose with creature feature. Yes, Gremlins, the actual movie itself, could count as a creature feature because they're creatures. You don't have to watch, like, Godzilla or anything with like a huge freaking beastly creature. You could watch a movie that has horses. You could watch a movie that has reindeer if you want to watch like a Christmassy or holiday themed movie like Santa Claus. I mean, there's reindeer in that movie. Use that as an excuse and say, hey, it's a creature feature. It has creatures in it, you know? Be very loose with it if you want, because I know not everyone loves a classic and a actual creature feature. So that's why I want to explain that you can do whatever you want to do with it. And last but not least, I'm really excited about this prompt because I think it's very unique. This was an idea of my fellow booktuber and best bud Andrew from It Came From the Page. Milk and cookies. Match a movie with a read. You could just watch the movie, but the idea is you use any book as inspiration. You don't have to have read the book already. You can have, but you don't have to have read it. So use any book you want for inspiration, and in some way, shape, or form, match a movie to that book you used for inspiration. I can think of some examples. For instance, say you want to use this book, Nelfs. This is my awesome copy that was actually gifted to me from Andrew, and I treasure this. I have it on my desk on display every single day. But it's a little girl clutching a teddy bear, toys. You know, you could watch a holiday movie featuring lots of toys. Babes in Toyland could be a choice. I mean, literally any movie that features any kind of toys, even a movie with an adult acting like a kid, like Big. You could be so loose and interpretive with this. I'm really excited because there's so many possibilities with this prompt. Literally any book can serve as an inspiration, and you can be as creative about that as you want. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me say, be as creative as you want, you can get as creative as you can be, blah, 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 whatevs. It is. And you're probably sick of hearing me say that too. Whatever! Just forget all my freaking sayings that I say over and over again. I was about to say it is what it is for like the 50th time. No, it isn't what it is. It's something else. Anyway, I'm wearing a Christmassy, spooky shirt. Look, he's putting freaking pumpkins on a tree. It's a pumpkin tree. And it says at the bottom, you can't see, but I'll read it to you. It says, it's the season to be creepy. So I know lots of people, including myself, are a little sad that Halloween is over, but I am gearing up and keeping the spirit of Halloween alive with my December celebration, and I think my Patreon members and I will have a lot of fun doing this, and we will keep Halloween in our hearts, because this isn't just a holiday-themed readathon, it's kind of a creepy holiday-themed readathon because of the naughty board, and because I read horror all year long, so I'll be reading horror in December, and so it'll work perfectly with this readathon. If you guys are interested in any of this event, whether it be the movie part or the book part or both parts, join us on my Patreon. Again, it's open to all levels. There's a $3, $6, and $9 level, and I appreciate anybody and everybody who's on the Patreon, but also I appreciate anybody and everyone who takes even a moment to check out my videos. Thank you all so very much. No matter what way you support me, I really appreciate it, and you guys are just awesome. I really appreciate, again, that you take your valuable time and use it to watch my videos. It means the world to me. Even if you can't support on Patreon, it's still supporting me by watching me and being here and being a part of my little community here on YouTube. Alright guys, so for this time, that is it for me. Till next time, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye guys!